Um, so my question is, say like in September, we're able to open the rec center. Is that something that we will be able to do with this budget? Or would we have to take stuff out of surplus to do that? Or that's my question.
Yeah, so what I did with this budget is I assumed that we only had 6 months of operations, given that it's already June. So I did it based on a 6-month operation. So basically, the longer we don't open, the more money we're not spending. I don't know that we're going to run into a problem where we're going to be going over budget this year, given that it is already June. If that does happen, we would have a budget variance for that. But what I'm hoping is that you guys will have quarterly updates at a minimum, so that you'll be able to make that decision on your own based on the information you have. So basically, let's say we do a June quarterly update, you'll know where we're at to budget, and then council can discuss, okay, do we want to go over budget? Do we want to pull from reserve? Like, that's a decision that you would make kind of at that time. I would expect that you would have those figures by the end of July, but the second council meeting in July, at least draft ones.
Okay, that makes sense. So every quarterly, we'll just revisit and see like what changes. Okay.
Yeah, what I'm going to try to do is keep the format that you see here so that you kind of get accustomed to seeing it. And we'll just put another column in that will say year-to-date actuals. Okay. So instead of having this December 31st, 2020, we'll have a current year figure that will be next to the approved budget. The reason why I can't do this now is because I don't have an approved budget. So I have nothing to compare the actuals to, right? So providing everything gets approved at this meeting, I'll start working on the March quarterly ones, even though we are already end of June almost, but at least then you'll start becoming familiar to you.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Councillor Muir.
Yeah, so I just, again, I was going through the budget again, and I know last meeting I stressed the internal efficiencies, but what I thought about it further with the internal efficiencies and thinking really hard about it, it's actually not fair at this point in time to even ask both the new CAO and the new treasurer to go and look into finding efficiencies when you've just started. It's not actually really reasonable or fair, and I apologize. I mean, I do stress that efficiencies will be found, and I know, and I'm very confident from reading this budget and going over with everything. I'm more than confident you are both going to find that. With like you mentioned, the new subdivision coming in and the opportunities we have with tourism and everything happening. So, I mean, it is very important to have a strong financial position. And again, Nadia, the amount of work you put in there and the way you laid out the chart, and you're 100% right. We've got to have a strong financial position in the township of Red Rock. That's extremely important. So I've kind of changed my tune since the last meeting. As much as I don't like tax increases, I do see that if everything goes as planned, there won't be any going forward. So I very much appreciate everything.
Councillor Tedesco.
I'll get this damn thing straight one of these days. My question is, I've got a number of things that I need to learn with regards to the budget and entries and things of that sort. And I'm wondering if it would be possible to perhaps get together with Nadia and just quickly go over some things in the future, just to clarify in my mind what these things mean, and so I can be more knowledgeable in my procedures.
Definitely available to answer questions. If it's better to do another education session, if council as a whole wants to have like a Q&A session, absolutely willing to set that up. Not a problem.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Can I have a mover and seconder to accept the report from administration in regards to the budget? Councillor Park, Councillor McDonald? All in favor? All hands are rising, so the motion is carried. Or I mean, the report is passed. Bylaws, bylaw 2021-1237 to adopt the 2021 budget. Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Kuki or Mr. Figlamini? Councillor Muir.
Keep up the good work, honestly. And Nadia, that was a fantastic budget. Honestly, you've got a good plan laid out there. So, and I'm really excited for this. I really, really am.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I need a mover and seconder to pass the bylaw 2021-1238 to establish the tax ratios. Councillor Tedesco? Councillor McDonald? All in favor? All hands rising, so the bylaw is passed or carried. Item 3.2, bylaw 2021-1238 to establish the tax ratios. Did I just mix that up with the other one? Sorry. Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Kuki or Mr. Figlamini? Okay, seeing none, I need a mover and seconder to pass the bylaw 2021-1238 to establish the tax ratios. Councillor McDonald, Councillor Muir. All in favor? All hands are rising, so motion is, or bylaw is carried. Item 3.3, bylaw 2021-1239 to establish limits for property classes. Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Kuki or Mr. Figlamini? Okay, seeing none, I need a mover and seconder to pass bylaw 2021-1239 to establish limits for property classes. Councillor Park, Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, item 3.4, bylaw 2021-1240 to adopt optional tools for taxation purposes. Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Kuki or Mr. Figlamini? Councillor Tedesco?
Can you explain what that all means?
Mark, would you like to address
Yeah,
it?
it's basically a bylaw that will pass every year that goes along with budget, that gives us the opportunity, or it enables us to use every tool out there. It's the standard bylaw that will pass every year. So it just gives us it sets those guidelines and those rules for us to follow through the budget process. And it will pass through every year.
What sort of tools are you thinking of?
Rosalie, do you have any input on that one as well?
I think that's a Nadia question.
Nadia, into the particular tools? Yeah.
So this has to do with an Ontario Regulation 284. So we have to use a certain method of accounting in order to pass the budget, which is different than the method of accounting used to prepare the audit. And the reason why there's two different budgets or two different methods is because we would operate the township using a cash basis. So we know what money's coming in and then we spend that money as it goes out. But for auditors, they have to conform to something called PSAB, which is Public Sector Accounting Body Standard. So we can't budget that way. So this bylaw basically gives council the way, like the ability to pass the budget the way it is right now, even though this budget doesn't conform to general accounting standards. We need it in order to properly reflect our operations. So it's not it's a very standard bylaw that just has to go as part of our package every year. It's not something that needs a lot of thought because it is part of what has to be passed.
It's just that when you see things such as uncapped taxes, I'm wondering what does that really mean? It's obviously a very technical thing that's beyond most of us. So thank you for your effort on it.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm explaining it well. This is a kind of a bigger topic. Yeah.
Thanks, Nadia.
Okay, do I have a mover and seconder to pass this bylaw? Councillor Park, Councillor Muir. All in favor? All hands rising, so motion is carried. Okay, item 3.5, bylaw 2021-1241 to set and levy the 2021 tax rates. Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Kuki or Mr. Figlamini? Okay, seeing none. Could I have a mover and seconder to pass this bylaw? Councillor Park? Councillor McDonald? All in favor? Okay, all hands rising. Motion is carried to pass bylaw 2021-1241 to set the levy and 2020 tax rates. Okay, I believe that is the end of this short meeting, which we all knew was to discuss. Ms. Evans?
I'm just wondering on the status of the audit. Do we have any word on when the auditors are ready to present?
Go ahead, Nadia, and then I'll speak.
Oh, I was just going to say that Mark just sent us through the engagement letter, which talks about sort of the responsibilities of management and audit. So this is kind of top file stuff that indicates to me that they're getting towards the end of it. The last update I had from the staff person on the audit was when I retrieved information to get the budget done. I haven't spoken to the partner yet. And I think one of the things that Mark had taken a look at was that they are looking for us to sign on for the 2020 and subsequent years, which is standard wording in an audit. It is generally my practice, especially when I come into a new organization, and especially when an auditor has been in place for many years, to tender that. So that would be a recommendation, just to make sure we're keeping everyone honest. I think now that we've sort of got this passed, I will have a little bit more time to turn my attention back to find out where they're at and if there's anything that they're still waiting for. Sam, I don't know if you have an update other than that, if you've heard from Jeevan at all or anything.
I did actually speak to Jeevan this afternoon. So there's about 4 items that he provided me that he had additional questions on. So we are working on those to get the answers back to him as soon as possible. But yeah, it's they were minimal.
Yeah, and I've been speaking to him off and on all day as well. So we are in that process. It is coming along. Like I said, I flipped a few questions off to Nadia today to just to confirm. And yeah, I think it's close. That's for sure. We'll continue to work on that with him on Monday. I will have another discussion with him Monday, but yeah, it's coming along. And I mean, just to maybe answer a few of the previous questions, because they are related to budget, on Melissa's original question. I mean, on opening, I think we are going to be looking at a plan very shortly on opening all of, as we come out of COVID, at least a plan, right? At least a discussion on where we are with all our facilities, including this office. We've briefly discussed that here. Efficiencies, Gord, yeah, for sure. We're definitely looking already. Again, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but we're getting there. We've seen and discovered a few efficiencies already. Nadia spoke to a couple just now on where we have landed with the auditing process, as well as insurance processes in that, where we were just a little behind the 8 ball, but the RFP process on that moving forward will, I think, be efficiencies that we may meet, and so that's coming along. Cam, on your Q&A question regarding the understanding that, as Nadia said, we could look into some of that. We're always available to hopefully answer your questions, and I'll try to get you some more answers if you need them on the tools as well. But as Ms. Kuki stated, it is a standard document that goes through the budget process, and I know you will see it every year. It's part of that process, and as she explained it, that's how I understand it as well. So thank you for that. And
Councillor Tedesco.
As I've mentioned before, I'm feeling very confident about the budget. I'm feeling very confident about what Nadia has been able to do with this. It's a good feeling, even though there's a lot of obvious technical stuff as we read the bylaws that were being put before us. I would wonder, what would the direction be from you, Nadia and Mark? I get the feeling stay the course, because we seem to be doing pretty well up by now.
So one of the things that I need to do is do a year-to-date comparative. So in order to do that, I need my opening balances, and I get them from the closing balances of the audit. So we have to get the audit first. I'm going to enter those December 31st balances in. Then I'm going to run the figures from January 1st until now, May 31st, let's say, and see where we're at. And what that will do is it will let us know where we need to change things. So where there's something going over or under budget, where we need to slow down, where we need to let the managers know, hey, you only have this much left for the year, that sort of thing. So I'm a little hesitant to say stay the course at this point, because we are so close to actually getting some reliable data. For me, I look at the numbers and I take a look at something that's getting close to budget, and I say, why is this happening? If we've got $100,000 budgeted and it's June and we're already at 90, what's going on, kind of thing. So a lot of that will take me some getting familiar, talking to Sam, talking to some people who have been here longer. And all of this is data that I'm going to use to help advise and encourage council going forward, because ultimately it is up to you. It'll just, I don't have that sort of that numerical data just yet. With the audit, one of the questions I have for council is, what is the normal process? Does the auditor come and present to you, or do you have like a subcommittee first that they present to, or do they present to administration? How does that process normally go?
Past practice was that BDO would come and make a presentation to us.
Do the statements come to Mark and I first to review, or do they just go straight to council? Like how?
I believe they do go to the CAO first.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, seeing no more questions, I'd like to call this meeting to be adjourned at 5:21 p.m.
have a great night, everyone.
I don't need a motion to close, right? Having a moment.
No.
Okay,
You've adjourned.
good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Right.